let me say one other thing about the PNAC. These are the people that in there. They mention use of bioweapons that's genome specific. We go back to the eugenics movement in this country. That was the center of it was Cold Springs Harbor. Well, the Cold Springs Harbor today is ahead of the Human Genome Project, but the control has never really passed out of the hands of these fascists because two of the directors, one of them is a grandson of Harriman, the other one is a grandson of Alan Dulles.
Oh, God.
It stays in the family, doesn't it?
It stays all in the family.
And they're a little obsessed about family lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, where are we today? Has the Fourth Reich won? Do they have everything they want? How much more power do they want? What are we looking at next here?
I gave an example there in the book of how to control it with passing an amendment to limit the corporate corporations. Basically, we got to eliminate the rich elite in this country. We work fine as a democracy until an elite class that rose up that can buy the government. That's where everything has went wrong. Somehow you got to get rid of that elite class. I'm not sure if we can do it any longer in the ballot box or not. I think they may have gone too far. The only way that can be done now is through watering Jefferson's tree of liberty.
Wow.
I did include an amendment there that could eliminate corporations, that would limit them, that would pass a lot of the old laws that the Supreme Court has eventually eroded and turned over. But now, why I'm so negative is this here recent ruling by the Supreme Court that allows corporations to spend any amount of money they want on elections.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to buy any politician that they want. And if you are not for sale to the corporation, you're not even going to make it to the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that what I call the first conspiracy, which is just class, the idea of a ruling class, these elites, is elitism itself the root of fascism? I mean,
no, it's not. Fascism, the root, if you and put it in this perspective with the elite, it's their switch to fascism is their last desperate gamble to hold on to power. I think they see the decline of America. I think they're worried that they're going to lose power, and so they're trying to grab everything they can right now.
And what do you think?
Fascism usually arises in times of economic strife, but it never arose in good times. And the places that ever arose was the nation was having some economic problems.
Right, definitely. The parallels are there between Germany and the United States right now. What do you see as
all the parallels are in place? Even you look at the elections. And the Nazis beat everybody in the street. You can hardly say this summer that the politics has been civil. No. You've got people running around with guns at the president with speeches and everything else. Trying to Tea Party's members trying to out the opposition and get them fired here. And where I live, they tried to actually get one teacher fired because he was a liberal and wrote something against the Tea Party.
Do you see parallels in the current administration and or similarities or differences between the Bush junta and the current administration, and what are the greatest threats to these fascist elites?
The greatest threat is right now would be unions. If the unions could reform and start taking control of the workplace again, that would be their greatest threat if they could do it. I don't see anything happening on the political side stage just because of that Supreme Court ruling, because that's not going to happen. They're going to have to look elsewhere for a solution to get the ball rolling before it can be a political solution.
And the current administration?
The current information, I'm lukewarm to the guy. I don't care for him. He lost me back in the campaign when he said Bush was a nice guy.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's as big of a threat as George W.
Mm-hmm. That's still a threat, huh?
Yeah, he's still a threat, but well, we still got the damn Patriot Act. That's never
right.
been removed.
Yeah.
As long as that act is out there, it's going to be a threat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's still, a global military empire,
mm-hmm.
just with a different, left foot instead of right foot.
Yeah, Republican versus Democrat doesn't seem to mean that much anymore,
No. And the other thing I kind of worry about, too, right now with this here president guy is would the military stand behind him or would they remove him?
Well, and they definitely seem to be deifying Petraeus, and he certainly seems like somebody the powers that be might have in mind, almost like Smedley Butler, somebody that they could use to stage a coup.
Right.
Not that they haven't already.
Yeah.
Only problem was Smedley was a friend of the working person.
Right. No. That's the thing that disappointed me That's the thing that disappointed me when I was reading about him. Was all the great things about him, talking about war being a racket. But then he was pretty heavy-handed in breaking up some unions, right?
Not that I know of, unless it was in his early part of his career. The ones that are heavy-handed that I can remember was MacArthur and Eisenhower being in charge of removing the bonus marchers.
Yeah.
I'm probably just misremembering.
What's that?
I'm probably just misremembering what I read in the book.
It was Eisenhower and MacArthur that removed bonus marchers. There was actually Smedley Butler that was stood behind them.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
See, now I feel terrible for mischaracterizing it that way.
And actually, Smedley was so much pissed off over the American Legion as being a group of elites, as the American Legion was founded by J.P. Morgan, that he founded, Smedley was the one that founded the VFW.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear how the American Legion, its origins, are kind of shady.
To say the least.
Yeah.
It was funded by J.P. Morgan to be basically a union-busting group of thugs.
Oh, my God.
And bust up unions and socialism. Oh. And that's basically what they were, and that's in the plot to remove Roosevelt in 34, 36.
Mm-hmm.
The plotters was planning on using the American Legion as the army, as their army. And it was the American Legion was ran by a crowd.
All right, well, we'll be back for our final segment with our guest, Glen Yeadon, in just a moment. Stay tuned to PsiOp Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. This is the final segment of the September 12th, 2010 edition of PsiOp Radio, live from Austin, Texas. Our guest tonight has been Glen Yeadon. He's the co-author of Nazi Hydra in America, Suppressed History of a Century. Glen, well, this is our last final segment. We got a few more minutes. What have we not covered that you might want to throw in here, and what maybe are you working on in the future?
Well, I am looking at expanding the Hydra. Originally, as planned, it would be about twice the size of what it currently is. As far as the segment goes, I think, we had one other example where we had it all in the family. I'll give you one more, because this here, what I want to make is, the point is, this stuff is circular. It never goes, the nut never gets too far from the tree. But in the post-war Germany, John McCoy was head of the occupational government. A man named Douglas was head of the finance division in the occupational government. And then, of course, Adenauer was the German chancellor at the time. What nobody seems to realize is all three of these men were brother-in-laws. They had all married the daughter of a man named Zinser, who happened to be a partner of J.P. Morgan.
Wow.
So J.P. Morgan pretty much controlled the fate of post-war Germany.
Well, it just goes on and on and on. Well, I can easily see how, you could have enough material there to basically have 2 volumes.
Yeah. Well, one of the chapters that was got left out, we've talked quite a bit about, and that was a chapter on religion. I don't want to say Vatican, but let's say Vatican-associated groups did play a big part in softening up all the countries in Europe before the Nazis invaded them.
Yeah.
There was Vatican-associated groups in France that even had machine gun placements under steps to control an intersection.
Wow.
All right. Well, folks can find out more about the book by going to progressivepress.com, where they can buy copies. There's also copies available, I believe, still through Amazon.com. And I think we've got a link there to your website, Glen, over at, spirit1.com? And,
yes.
And we've got the link there to your site. It's got a lot of excerpts from the book as well, I believe.
Well, actually, most of the book, the unedited version, is posted to the website, because I was posting it as I wrote it.
Oh.
I see.
And you should see the weblog and the list of government agencies. That was curious.
Oh, I'll bet they were.
Quite curious.
They're all implicated.
Came back 2-3 times a week for a peek. With an air base down there in Texas, but when you went to Google that air base, they were officially closed.
Very interesting. Not surprising.
But yeah, most of it's unedited, and most of the stuff is available on the website. Not all of it, though.
Well, it is a valuable resource. I highly recommend folks get it for their library. It's indexed and cited and has all the information you need as a resource and a reference. And also, of course, like so much of this deep political material, is a launching pad for your own research. Folks can carry the torch and start fighting the fascist menace. That's
right. It's a Hydra-headed beast for sure. It doesn't call itself the Nazi Party anymore, but and it's all over the place. But this book will help you to identify the players a lot more easily.
Well, that's one reason I wrote it the way I did, was I wanted to stand as a reference, to put in the dates and names and the places, so it'd be easy for somebody to pick it up and start research on a point that I didn't see or missed, or that he knows about.
Right on.
The one thing on it, too, is probably the most proudest part about it, is on the back cover, the first pre-press rave, so people know it's a serious reference. This book was blessed by Howard Zinn.
Yeah, I read that quote earlier because I thought that was a very important endorsement right there. And he got it right. This is a very valuable historic document that needs to be read as widely as possible. Well, thank you so much for being our guest tonight, Glen. I really appreciate you coming on the show and wish you the best in the future.
Yes, good luck to you. It's been a great show.
Well, thank you. I had a good time, you ever want me back on, just give me a call.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
And,
well, thank you again, and have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.